Hi, my name's Ed Seipler, and I work in the Southeastern Health and Social Care Trust. And in partnership with ASCERT from our community voluntary sector, we produce this online version of Bend Don't Break. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to guide you through some of the key points in Bend Don't Break. We're not going to read the whole book for you. We're just going to pick up on some of the key points. But on the ASCERT's website, you can download the workbook, but also the skills pack to help you practice what's in the workbook. Now, who's it for? Well, anyone. We've all had problems. You ever have times where things just seem to get on top of you? You can't stop worrying. You overthink things. Stressful events, well, they're just too much. You beat yourself up with self-criticism. It affects your mood, and your mood's low. You're not enjoying things. And you ever have times where strong feelings like anger, sadness, and fear seem to take over? Like that little diagram, it just floods our thinking and we're not thinking straight. Does that happen a lot? No, these things happen to all of us. And that little diagram's in page 3 of the workbook. So how things work, and this is true for all of us, we have situations. Every day, our senses are constantly taking a flood of information. Now, from those situations, we're going to have thoughts, we're going to have feelings, emotions. It's going to affect our body, what's going on in our body, and that's going to affect our behavior. And that's called the 5-area approach by Chris Williams. The 5-area approach would suggest, well, make a change in one area, it's going to affect the other 4. So the skills in this workbook will help you be more resilient, help you change some of these things. But we better go on later on to explain what we mean by resilience, and we will in another clip. So after this introduction, we're going to have 8 more short clips to guide you through key points of the work. We're going to talk about resilience. We use a model we call catch it, pause it, challenge it, change it to get more control of our thinking. We are going to touch on those core beliefs, those beliefs we learned pretty much from childhood that guide how we see everything, the world, ourselves, other people. But other key things to build resilience, well, the support we use, looking after yourself. And the last clip, well, we are going to help you review the work and point you toward further support. And we will have an evaluation. We're keen to hear, well, start this work and finish it. What does it do for you? But it's really important to say, this is not a replacement for professional help. No, it's not therapy. It's not counseling. It's low intensity work. Now, what does that mean? It's self-help that you can do on your own or with a guide who's been trained to use it. So we really do hope it's helpful. Now, a good starting point, particularly in this introduction clip, is maybe understanding how our bodies react to stress. Now, I'm going to use my hand to describe this. When, this is the hand model of the brain. You've got the brainstem come up, you've got the downstairs brain. That's where your big feelings are. It's also where your life functions are. It's back here, that's the brainstem. Then we have the amygdala, right in the middle of the brain, that filter for stress and danger and threat. It's like a smoke detector. Now, it picks up any threat. You're going to have stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. That mobilizes, that energizes, gets us focused. It's functional. It's the way human beings survive. Now, we also have the thinking part of the brain. That's up here. But what happens, and we talk about this in page 4 of the workbook, what happens when that stress hits, the amygdala puts up threat and danger, it immobilizes us, but take things in thinking offline. Normally, it's our thinking that controls our emotion. Now, when stress gets too much, boom, we're not thinking straight, we act. The key to this work, okay, how do we calm this down and how do we bring our thinking back online? So if you want to look a little bit more on this, we do have a YouTube clip we produced with ASCERT. It's on ASCERT's website, or look up my name, Ed Seipler, on YouTube, and there it is. If you want to take this a little bit further and think about how stress and trauma does affect our nervous system. How to get most from this work? Now, new skills don't happen by themselves. You got to work on it. It takes time to break old habits we've had for a long time. And we're calling it a workbook because you're going to have to put a bit of work into it. So some suggestions, and they're only suggestions. You decide how best to use it. But you might want to talk to somebody about what you're doing. Don't let unfamiliar words throw you. Ask about it. Read it over a few times. We're going to be keen to encourage you. Write down your thoughts as you're going through the work. There is a skills pack that helps you do that. Develop a plan. How am I going to make use of this work? Reward yourself for small steps. But if you feel you've touched a part of yourself that's difficult to manage, things get a bit worse for you, stop. That could be a good sign. Talk to a professional about this. It's important to say it's not a quick fix for anything, particularly for stress. It's going to take effort and repetition on your part to build positive habits. So we said writing things down is useful. Well, why? Feelings can't be stopped. They're normal, but we can have ways to deal with them. Now, the worksheets and the skills pack will help you practice the skills here in the booklet. So writing down your thoughts, what that does, that helps us all order and organize stuff in the business of our minds. Our minds can get quite busy. And when you write it down, it gets the thinking outside of our head. That can release some of the pressure. The more you unload on paper, the more you'll be able to make sense of things. It also helps you see your progress you're making. But don't worry about handwriting and spelling. It's for you. How you use the worksheets is entirely up to you. Share them with anyone only if you feel you should. You choose. Now, what we're encouraging us all to do, and we use the term bend, don't break. It's like a palm tree. Palm trees, its roots are really deep and its trunk very pliable, very flexible. And strong winds, hurricanes, typhoons, they bend, don't break. That's what we want to do. That's what this work's all about. So how you use it, how you set goals, from what you've heard so far, you decide, well, what would I like to use this work for? Go through the clips, work through the workbook, go through the skills pack, and maybe you want to help to deal with stressful problems better, be less anxious, lift your mood. Maybe there's something else. So before you dive into it, on page 8 in the workbook, you decide, well, what do I want to use this work for? Thanks very much for getting started. The rest of the clips are going to guide you through this work. And like I said, you decide how you're going to use it, but we really do hope it's helpful. Thanks very much, and we hope you keep going.